So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the November 15th, 2022 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, we'd like to ask Pastor Joan Jones if she'd give us an invocation. Good morning, Pastor Jones.
Morning.
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 I thought I was late when I came in and I saw all these people and I was like, oh my God.
No,
I missed the memo.
you're good.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we acknowledge this morning your sovereignty and the greatness, O God, of your presence. We thank you for this space and for these commissioners who now are seated before us. And we ask, O God, that the wisdom that comes from above guide them, that the spirit that comes from your presence in this place lead them, and that the decisions and discussions and debates that are made this day are for the citizens of this county and for the quality of life. We thank you for their dedicated service, and we pray, God, that all of this is done in the matchless name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Jones.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming in.
No problem. I won't see you again, so have a happy holidays.
You won't see us again?
Not until next year.
We look forward to that. So the first item is to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So under public service announcements, I want to thank, first of all, we just had Election Day on November the 8th. Want to make sure to thank all the election judges that worked that day at the polling places. Want to thank Ms. Hatfield for her and her staff's work to get the election. They're not quite completed. They have to allow 10 days from the date of election for mail-in ballots. So they've still got a few votes to count. So we won't have an official result until November the 18th. And I also want to thank all those people that voted. We talk about this all the time, the responsibility that everyone has as citizens to get out and vote, and it's so important. So I want to thank especially all those people that actually got out and voted that day. And I haven't been told, but it's the Marine Corps' birthday was November the 10th. If I didn't mention that, I'd get shot by the county administrator. So we want to wish all the Marines out there a happy birthday. And
I don't brag about it that often.
only every week.
I was going to say weekly. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Only every
52
week.
times a year.
So they have Thanksgiving on my list, but don't we meet next week?
No.
We don't meet next week.
No, sir.
We get a break.
You
Hot
get to eat
dog.
turkey.
So, want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving in advance, and we hope that you spend time with your families and have a wonderful celebration. And that's all I have under public service announcements. The next item on the agenda is proclamations, and the first one is for Native American Heritage Month. Commissioner Gadway.
Sorry, I saw him getting up and I had to double check my paper.
Please.
Go ahead and introduce yourself to the microphone, please.
Joanna Skenehay, I greet you in my tribal language, which is Skarure. I am Tuscarora and enrolled member of the Lumbee tribe. That being my cultural side, I serve as the Director of Ethnic Commissions under the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives and also as the Administrative Director for the Maryland Commission on Indian Affairs, E. Keith Colston. It is a pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Come on up. Chris?
Good morning.
Christopher
for
Sperling,
joining
Historic
us.
Preservation Planner, Department of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. Come on up. Do either of you want to say anything before we get started?
Well, I definitely, thank you, sir. Yahweh, in my language. I would like to say on behalf of the tribal people, the indigenous people, and all tribes who have moved into the state of Maryland, it's indeed an honor whenever that we are represented in such a way, the contributions, the historical situations, and of course what we continue to strive and thrive to do, which of course is to progress our people, as of course to be educators and a source of information to those of us who do not know about tribal people here in the state. It's a long history. It's going to be a continuous history, because there's no finish line to anything that's being done. This is, of course, the way for Maryland. We know that Maryland is a state of first, and what we, of course, want to look at is what has been done in a progressive and positive manner, and those things that have not been done in such a way that we learn from that and that it won't be repeated. So for, again, all of the tribal groups, all of the state-recognized tribes, the Piscataway-Conoy tribe, the Piscataway Indian Nation, as well as, again, the Akahana tribe, which are state-recognized tribes through the Maryland Indian Status process, we thank you, and we say in Yahweh on behalf of the Maryland Commission on Indian Affairs.
Thank you. Chris, you want to add anything? No, sir. All right. When I saw this proclamation, I was thinking to myself, when I was in elementary and middle school and even high school, we were taught a significant amount about Native Americans throughout the country, the West Coast, the East Coast, and everything else. And when my children went through school, I don't ever remember them being taught a whole lot, not nearly as much as we were taught back in the 70s and 80s. So I'd like to see our schools get into teaching about the histories and everything else associated with the Native American people. So I put that challenge out to our new superintendent, Dr. Tansel. Hopefully you're listening. All right. So, whereas in 1990, Congress passed and President George H.W. Bush signed into law a joint resolution designating the month of November as Native American Heritage Month. And whereas Native American tradition holds that they have occupied these lands for millennia, the ancestors of today's Native Americans provided assistance to the early European visitors to North America, sharing their knowledge and training in survival, hunting, cultivation, fertilization of indigenous crops. And whereas archaeology provides evidence that the Native peoples have inhabited what now is Calvert County for at least 13,000 years and continued to enrich the fabric of our community. And whereas place names that define Calvert County geographically, such as Patuxent and Chesapeake, honor the extensive influence of Native American heritage in this area. And whereas Calvert County is pleased to join in designating this month to promote this celebration of Native American heritage and give recognition to the essential and unique contributions that have given to Calvert County and of the nation. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the month of November 2022 be known as Native American Heritage Month in Calvert County, and call upon the residents of Calvert County to join their fellow citizens across Maryland in recognizing and participating in this special observance. Be it further proclaimed that we are pleased to designate this month to promote the celebration of Native American cultural heritage and encourage residents to observe the month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Given under our hands and seal this 15th day of November 2022, signed by all 5 commissioners. Congratulations and thank you.
Go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. So Commissioner Gadway just pointed out, and I was going to mention, you know, I brag a lot about how long my family's been in Calvert County, but today I'm humbled because the time my county and my family's been here means nothing to what Mr. Carlson's heritage is in this country. So it's a privilege and honor to have him with us today. And to remind people that if you don't know, there is a Native American village down at Jefferson Patterson Park. Sometime you can go down and visit. And they used to have, I don't know if they still do, they used to have a Native American Day that they celebrated at Patterson Park. So if you're ever down there, you can take a look. So the next item on the agenda is another proclamation for retirement. Commissioner Weems.
Mr. Gary, if you'll come forward, sir, please. I'll come to you, sir. And Miss Mary Beth, would you like to say a few words?
Absolutely. First of all, the citizens of Calvert County need to recognize the 18 years that Gary Brady put in as a building inspector, keeping the citizens safe. He took his job very seriously, and it is a very serious job. So Gary, we want to sincerely thank you for all that you did, for your hard work, your dedication. You came in every day ready to work, worked as hard as you could, and you will be missed, but you deserve this, and I hope you enjoy every minute of your retirement.
Prior to me reading the official proclamation, is there anyone else that would like to say a few words?
I did forget we're having a celebration, so anyone that wants to join us immediately after over in the Office of Inspections and Permits for light refreshments. Thank you.
I didn't quite hear a whoop whoop. Could I have another whoop whoop whoop? All right. One with a little more zeal. All right. See, Miss Gary? We got them stirred up, didn't we? Whereas Milton Gary Brady Sr., Building Inspector for the Department of Planning and Zoning, Division of Inspections and Permits, retired on November 2nd, 2022, after dedicating 18 years of faithful and loyal service to the citizens of Calvert County and the state of Maryland. And whereas Gary's distinguished career with Calvert County government began on August 30th, 2004 as a building inspector for the Department of Planning and Zoning, Division of Inspections and Permits. During his exceptional career, Gary performed 34,972 building inspections. Wow. Wow. Oh, that was a half a whoop. Including emergency inspections requested by Fire Rescue and the Calvert County Sheriff's Office for hundreds of structures throughout his remarkable career. Gary was the vanguard for the division as part of the county's damage assessment team during several natural disasters that struck the county over the years, with the most notable being the 2004 tornado in Solomon's Island, the 2011 earthquake, Hurricane Irene, and Tropical Storm Lee. Prior to his career with Calvert County government, Gary honorably and devotedly served the citizens of Calvert County as a Maryland State Trooper from 1970 through 1971, and as a deputy sheriff with the Calvert County Sheriff's Office from 1971 through 1976. And whereas Gary has provided steadfast and superior service during his career, thereby achieving tremendous respect, trust, and appropriation from Calvert County citizens and fellow constituents who had the pleasure to work with him. He is an example of effectual and hands-on guidance and is treasured and appreciated by staff and colleagues. Both professionally and personally, Gary is a dependable, considerate, and caring man. And whereas His admirable and distinguished service has been exhibited with a spirit of pride and commitment throughout his exemplary career with the Division of Inspections and Permits. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners presents this proclamation as a tribute to Gary's outstanding accomplishments during his distinguished career, thereby recognizing this wonderful man who strived to improve the quality of life for all Calvert County citizens. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners recognizes Milton Gary Brady Sr. on his retirement after 18 years of reliable and commendable public service. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners joins with the community, his co-workers, whoop whoop, family and friends, and conveys best wishes for a long, healthy, and happy retirement with continued success in all his future endeavors. Given under our hands and sealed this 15th day of November, 2022. Sir, thank you. Gary, could you please come over here, sir? We'll get a picture.
Congratulations, Mr. Brady. Good hat you got. It's a good hat you got.
Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mr. Brady. Thank you so much for everything.
And President Hance's, Mr. Brady had almost 35,000 inspections. I can personally vouch for about 6 of those, and he does not let anything slide.
You failed pretty consistently, didn't you, Chris?
6 of 6, baby.
At least you're consistent.
I'm consistent. But he also sat there and was nice enough to come back out and approve them once it was straight.
But I'm going to tell you, and I kid you not, I appreciate it. I really do, because a guy like me that can't nail a nail straight, I want to know it's okay. You know, I kid you not. I mean, if it's wrong, let's get it fixed now, because I can't fix it. You know, so I'm dead serious. I mean, I kid you not. I'm like, all right, you sure it's all right? You know, I mean, because I know what I know how to do, and I know what I don't know how to do. So I always appreciate it. I kid you not. And I tell you, it's a big responsibility, because, you know, you take like where my business is, you know, if I have something, a fire or what have you, there's several other businesses that are affected right in there. You know, or you take, you know, a house that's close to us. So it is very serious business. And thank you so much.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is an award. Lisa? Morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good.
Good morning, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
Let me get my glasses on so I can see now.
And you are?
Hello. My name is Lisa Talame. I work for Community Resources, and I'm here as part of the ERC team. I'll lower this just a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm here today to introduce Calvert County Government's November 2022 Employee of the Month. So first, Employee of the Month acknowledges individual excellence for superior performance and special individual efforts in the following areas: effectiveness of public contact, respect of fellow workers, quality or quantity of work, contributions towards improving organizational morale, and actions that improve Calvert County's public image. Anyone can nominate somebody to be an Employee of the Month. You can just see a member and we'll walk you through it. So without further ado, our November 2022 Employee of the Month is Janet Susie Meter, Account Technician 2 with Office on Aging. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, would you like to go up and join the commissioners?
Sure.
I know, it's not nerve-wracking enough. Susie is being
Congratulations.
recognized for the positive difference that she makes in Office on Aging on a daily basis. Her flexibility, knowledge, patience, and positive attitude are appreciated by all staff. making her the frequent go-to person for Office on Aging staff on many issues. Thank you, Steve. Oh, Commissioner.
No, you're good.
Over the past year, as the Office on Aging implemented the executive payroll system, Susie led the charge on getting the entire staff up to speed. She created a reference manual and coordinated training. She assists new staff as they onboard and assist with new issues as they arise, all with extreme patience and knowledge. If she doesn't know the answer, she finds it. And I thank you for that so many times. Community Resources recently received a Community Development Block Grant to fund 2 case manager positions through Office on Aging. Susie provides expense information to Community Resources, and that's me. I'm the receiving end of that, and she has helped me so much. And works with CR staff to ensure expenses are accurately accounted for and that all CDBG requirements are met. Susie does track everything fiscal with Office on Aging, making sure invoices are paid, expenditures and revenues are all tracked for the grants. Sorry. Professionally handling any issues or concerns. Susie does not hesitate to provide coverage in all other areas, such as front desk reception coverage, or going to another senior center to help out where it's needed. Susie does this enthusiastically and participates in senior center events when her schedule allows. And currently, she serves as the president of the Calvert County Wellness Committee. Susie is willing to assist staff and citizens alike, and we are grateful to have her part of the Office on Aging and Community Resources team. The ERC is delighted to join in with the Board of County Commissioners in recognizing this remarkable coworker. Thank you, Susie, for all you do. And a big thanks to the Office on Aging for taking the time out to submit this nomination, and thank you, Commissioners, for taking the time out to recognize this extraordinary employee and Calvert County's truly remarkable workforce. I believe there's people here that would like to say some things. Want it?
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Patty Ryan. I'm the fiscal manager with the Office on Aging, and I have the pleasure of serving as Susie's supervisor. Lisa touched on all the things that I was also going to say, so I'll keep it short and sweet. But when she talks about being the go-to person, there's many days when I come in and there's people waiting outside her door to speak to her. She has a line. So she's very knowledgeable, and we appreciate that. Susie has many admirable qualities, too, that I want to mention. One is her calm demeanor. She rarely gets upset or frustrated. And she also has a great ability to empower staff. She always takes the time to explain the how and the why, so that employees walk away with that knowledge to be able to perform those tasks on her own. We're very grateful to have her on our team. Thank you, Susie. Oh, I also have to make one correction. Susie is the vice chairman of the Wellness Committee. I apologize to Laura Kent, who is the chairperson.
You know what, and I knew that, but I just read it.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for recognizing Susie. She is an outstanding staff member, outstanding employee. I know this is an old reference, and it's probably been overused, but back when we were younger, there was a movie with a tagline, "Who are you going to call?" Ghostbusters. Well, Susie is that for us, and she does outstanding work. And it's probably overdue nominating her with executive time and then with our transition to Workday, but she's our Workday champion along with Patty Ryan. We just have an A+ fiscal team. We're so grateful for Susie and Patty. And Commissioners, thank you for recognizing Susie today. And Susie, thank you so much.
Jennifer Moreland, Director of Community Resources. I also have the pleasure of working with Susie on a daily basis. And I'll say, she does not give me the satisfaction of catching mistakes. She's just Her attention to detail is extraordinary. And she asks a lot of questions. And that's why she's so helpful to our staff, because she thinks of every contingency. And so I get those questions, and I'm like, wow, I didn't think of that. So she's a great person to have on staff because she really looks out for everybody. Thank you, Susie.
Congratulations. I believe they have.
Honestly, I mean, Commissioner President, I sort of injected myself over here because Susie was alone,
That's okay.
and I did not mean to usurp anyone's
No, you're good.
position
You're
in
good.
giving. It's well deserved, Susan. Here is your check. Thank you so much.
Okay, y'all will scooch in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
So the next item on the agenda is an appointment, and we have with us Deputy Administrator Vasallo, who's been absent recently.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Welcome
Pleasure
back.
to be
Welcome
back.
back.
Thank you. Glad to be in person. You have one appointment this morning for the Employees Retirement Savings Plan Board of Trustees, and staff is asking that you appoint Matthew Owens, to the Retirement Savings Board of Trustees, and you'll have one vacancy remaining following that appointment.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second that we appoint Matt Owens to the Employee Retirement Savings Plan Board of Trustees. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So the next item on the agenda is consent, and we have one item under consent. Department of Planning and Zoning requests to transfer Land Management Systems Coordinator position from the Department of Planning and Zoning to the Department of Technology Services. Are there any objections to the item under consent? Hearing none, that consent item will be adopted as presented. Next, we come to new business, Department of Public Safety, Calvert County Emergency Services Cost Recovery Program Memorandum of Understanding. Director,
Morning.
good morning. You have company.
I do.
Nobody screened these guys at security?
We let them pass through.
We're gonna have to have a conversation with the sheriff.
They have all the answers, so. Good morning, Commissioners. Jackie Vaughn, Director of Public Safety.
Bill Friesland, Calvert County Fire and Rescue, President, Association.
Larry Patton, on the Cost Recovery Committee.
Commissioners, I'll read your memo for you. Background: on December 22nd, 2015, each Fire Rescue EMS Medical Services Department was sent a correspondence from the Calvert County Board of County Commissioners stating no department would be permitted to pursue payment to emergency medical service providers or any cost recovery for emergency medical services without written permission from the BOCC, as this would be discussed in the near future with supplemental career EMS medical services staffing was implemented. In July 2020, volunteer fire rescue EMS representatives were provided a list of questions from various BOCC members concerning the emergency medical services billing, which we're now calling cost, which is cost recovery as well. On February 2nd, 2021, fire rescue EMS representatives met with the BOCC to discuss emergency medical services cost recovery questions. Through discussions, research, and collaboration with the BOCC and the Calvert County Volunteer Fire Rescue EMS Association and the Calvert County Emergency Medical Services Cost Recovery Program has been created. The program will allow the companies who wish to conduct EMS cost recovery to generate revenue to be applied as set forth in the Memorandum of Agreement, the MOU. Generated funds will be the net of all revenues received minus all programmatic costs required to generate the revenue, including the third-party billing agent fees, and will be distributed and allocated as set forth in Section 7, Distribution of the EMS Billing Program and Revenue Sharing Procedure of the MOU. Conclusion and recommendation. Staff recommends the BOCC authorize the President to sign the attached MOU with volunteer fire rescue EMS companies of Calvert County signatories to this agreement on behalf of the Board. And Billy and Larry are here to answer any questions you may have in regards to the cost recovery program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, you want to add anything?
It's been 7 years of hard work trying to bring this fruition, and specifically going back with Mike and the rest of the board, and specifically Chris, who has worked head-to-head with us in the time that he's been on the Board of County Commissioners. We appreciate getting here today. It's been a long, hard effort, and it's a lot of hours to get us here, and it's something that has definitely put us where we need to be with the approval of this.
Larry?
It's been a pleasure. This last few months working with staff, it's been actually delightful working with the county administrator, the commissioners, the folks to help us roll out information to the citizens, public safety. It's just been it's been a great bow on top of a long incoming package. So thank you for all the support.
Commissioner Gadway?
Thank you. Gentlemen, ladies, and Pat Hasser, I'm sorry you're not here this morning. I know you had other commitments you had to be at. I saw you guys start this 7 years ago, and to quote Mr. Hassler, it's been 7 years of paper cuts. I am extremely happy and delighted to know that with the way that this is being built out, it is going to help recover some of the tax dollars to our citizens to where hopefully there won't be a direct impact to the citizens to buy additional ambulances and stretchers and EMS supplies and stuff like that, to where we can start getting some of that money back from the insurance companies in order to help out. We have great volunteer services, we have paid services in the county, and without all of that, none of this would work. So my hat is off to Fire Rescue Association. You guys have had the tenacity in order to keep pushing this and pushing this. Thank you to Public Safety and Jackie and everybody else that's had a role in this. It's over the last year, I think a lot of it's come together, a lot of it's melded. I know County Attorney John, thank you for all your work on it. And everybody. It's been all the way across the board. If no other commissioners have any comments, I would.
I do.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to thank you guys tremendously. Wow, what a long road. Government moves slow sometimes, and this was an example of that, And Commissioner Gadway said it right. It's tenacity to keep going at it. I don't think, when things work perfect, right, in the government world, nothing's interrupted. People just go to work, they come home. But they don't know what it takes sometimes to make that happen. I mean, this morning we were just talking about the cost of apparatus. If you can get it a year and a half, 2 years out, how those costs have jumped just since my time on the board. You guys have seen these prices. I mean, there's not enough thank yous, and so many people have touched this. I was talking to Pat Hassler this morning, coming up the road. I mean, I don't know when you guys sleep, to be quite honest. I mean, and I don't know how your mind ever rests. And I can't say it enough. I really can't say it enough. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but your generation that has really guided through this county with the volunteers and everything, we will never replace. And that's no insult to anybody, but I mean, just from the days of when you guys were using Studebakers, to where we are now. I mean, it's just so remarkable, and you guys never stop. I mean, it's 365. I mean, there's somebody running a call right now, I'm sure. It's so just there's not enough thank yous, and we are so much better off as a county because you guys are there. I hope you're there forever. I don't know, Because I don't know who's going to go 7 years of pushing, you know what I mean, of working something. I mean, nothing comes easy. It just don't, you know, and just thank you again.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. President, it would be my honor and privilege to make the motion to authorize the president to sign the MOU with the volunteer fire rescue EMS companies that have joined the agreement.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second that we authorize the president to sign the MOU with volunteer fire and rescue EMS companies. Any discussion on that motion? So I just want to say that it has been a long road. I haven't been involved in all of it, but part of it. And just want to, to the citizens out there, I think we're one of the last jurisdictions in the state
Yes.
to implement this. And if you don't understand what we're talking about, it is where there's going to be a bill charge for certain medical services that are provided by our EMS companies in the county. 99% of those cases will be covered by your health insurance. So it's just something that, we've thought long and hard about and worked very hard with the departments over how to implement that and how those resources are spent. And trying to be very diligent and concerning how taxpayer dollars are spent and collected. And so it wasn't an easy task. And in government, sometimes we move slowly, but sometimes that's a good thing, to make sure we do it right. And that's what we tried to do here. So, again, I just want to thank, as was mentioned, Pat Hassler couldn't be here today, but these 3 individuals worked very hard coordinating between us and the 9 different companies in the county that are going to be part of this MOU. Just want to thank them for all their diligent work. Commissioner Hart's right. You don't see a lot of that ethic in our citizens today, and it takes real dedication to serve a community. And we just want to thank you for that effort. So,
If I may,
Yes, sir.
I didn't actually mention John, but we were getting emails at 9, 10 o'clock at night, early in the morning, getting drafts and almost immediately from some of the late night meetings that we had. And so that was just one thing I didn't realize. I think I sent a note to Administrator Willis that it was just really eye-opening. And I've been involved in county services in some way for the last 41 years. And it was, when we got there, it started happening. So,
It's a team effort.
Yeah,
A
it's
team
wonderful.
effort between the volunteers, public safety, and the county organizations involved. And it came together, and that's why we're here.
very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
have a great morning.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You too. So the next item under new business, Department of Public Safety, Calvert Advanced Life Support Apparatus Grant Medic 102. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Jim Richardson, Division Chief, Fire Rescue EMS, Department of Public Safety, and I have with me,
Chief Shannon, Chief of Calvert Advanced Life Support.
I'll go ahead and read the memo, Commissioners. Calvert Advanced Life Support is requesting a $106,000 fire rescue EMS apparatus grant for the purchase of a medic unit. In order to apply for this grant, Calvert Advanced Life Support adopted by resolution, formal procurement procedures, procurement committee standards, and contract administration policies, apparatus specification, received approval of the Chiefs Council, the Fire Rescue EMS Association, and the Fire Rescue Commission. Finally, the company has agreed to a promissory note through which the grant funding would be repaid through service over 3 years. The county will receive a security deed of trust that will complement the promissory note. In anticipation of the extreme manufacturing delays, Calvert Advanced Life Support located a chassis for the medic unit and purchased the chassis for $49,888.61 using their Amos Fire and Rescue grant funds. Their intention would be to use the Fire Rescue Apparatus grant funds to reimburse the Amos Fire Rescue grant funds account. The $106,000 requested is included in the FY22 CIP budget for the purchase of the medic unit. We're recommending the Board of County Commissioners approve the Calvert Advanced Life Supports Apparatus Grant request for the replacement of Medic 102 and authorize the Board President to sign the Fire Rescue Apparatus Grant Agreement.
Chief, want to say anything?
No, just you guys mentioned before the struggle over the last 2 years has been something that we've never seen in the fire and rescue industry. I don't think any industry has. The fact that we just can't go ahead and book basically or purchase a vehicle. We're now looking at 18 months to 2 years out to get a vehicle. The price has changed. And then you're competing with every other county that's trying to purchase vehicles at the same time. So we had to use outside the box thinking. We had funds. We basically had a window open up, and we had to take a jump at it. We had about a 3-day window where we jumped at basically the MAWA, the Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority, purchased too many trucks, and we were able to purchase one of the ones that they did not want. So that's sort of the explanation as to what Chief Richardson was talking about. With the use of the 508 money. So something that's not common, but something that I think had to be done so that we can keep the service going to the citizens of this county and keep our fleet going and keep the volunteers on the street and taking care of each other and the people in the county.
So it might be worth noting if one of you want to explain to the citizens the Amos funds.
Sure.
They're funds that are provided through the state government. Their funding is separated amongst the volunteer departments. Currently, the allotment is about $37,000 a year. There's very specific things they're allowed to use those funds for. They're strictly for apparatus, emergency equipment, or facilities. And as we said, Cal's took that opportunity that was rare to be able to use those funds, and we're just looking to put those back so that they can apply them to other projects.
All right. Any other questions? Actions?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve and authorize the president to sign grant agreement for the replacement of Medic 102.
Second?
A motion and a second to authorize the president to sign the grant agreement for the replacement of Medic Unit 102. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Great
you,
day.
sir.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I have your next item on new business, budget adjustment request, BA 021 CIP. My apologies, Chief Gray was to be in attendance, and due to strictly my mistake in giving him the dates, he was not here, so he's actually watching virtually as well. So I think I have enough background to be able to answer any questions, hopefully. I'll read the memo. The Fire Rescue Commission in fiscal year 2022 requested $225,000 for the Prince Frederick Volunteer Fire Department's CIP to fund the rehab work to Tower 2, known as a ladder truck. The truck was recently sent to the manufacturing facility for rehab, and after a full inspection, the total repair quote increased from the $225,000 to $310,183. This is an increase of $85,183 from the budgeted amount. The Fire Rescue Commission is requesting the transfer of $100,000 total, $500 from the Dunkirk Volunteer Fire Department's insurance operating account, and $50,000, and then $50,000 from the Fire Rescue contingency account. The Fire Rescue Commission met with Prince Frederick Volunteer Fire Department on Tuesday, September 27th, 2022, and approved moving forward with the budget adjustment request from the Board of County Commissioners. The transfer breaks down to $85,183 to meet the current quote, and an additional $14,817 to address any additional unforeseen issues as the repairs are made. Insurance expenses for FY23 have been less than projected, allowing assurance funds to be available. The fiscal impact, the FY23 Prince Frederick Volunteer Fire Department CIP apparatus account will increase to $325,000. The FY23 operating budget general fund will decrease by $100,000. The $100,000 will decrease the operating accounts for Dunkirk Volunteer Fire Department's insurance by $50,000, leaving a balance in that account of $49,041, and the fire rescue contingency account will decrease by $50,000, leaving a balance of $50,000. The recommendation is that the board approve budget adjustment number 021 CIP to increase Prince Frederick Volunteer Fire Department's FY23 apparatus CIP project for the requested total cumulative amounts of $100,000.
So just so everybody's clear, the $50,000 that's, was allotted to Dunkirk Fire Department for their insurance is not needed. The county allots in their budget
Yes, sir.
insurance premium money for every department, and in this case, that fund, those funds were not needed. That's why we're removing funds from Dunkirk Fire Department to help pay this. And it's pretty straightforward. Piece of equipment was sent out for repairs. The repairs are larger than was anticipated, so we're just using contingency funds and surplus funds that are already accounted for in the budget.
Yes, sir.
Is there questions, discussion, or actions?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve budget adjustment number 21 CIP in the total amount of $100,000. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Gene.
Item 4, under new business, Department of Finance and Budget. Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Sharon Strand, the Director of Finance and Budget. The first item we have on the agenda is a memo requesting increased FTE to help support the new cost recovery program that you all just approved. I'll go ahead and read the memo at this time. Background, the Board of County Commissioners have worked collaboratively with representatives of the Fire and Rescue Association to lessen the taxpayer burden and enhance the draw and allure of volunteer services within the county. The Calvert County Emergency Medical Service Cost Recovery Program was negotiated and has been signed by every fire and rescue company in the county that desires to participate. Discussion. It is anticipated that the cost to administer the cost recovery program will be insignificant relative to the incoming receipts, but the program requires more than current staffing levels can support. In fact, only 5% of the net revenue is allocated to administration of the program. Finance and Budget is requesting 1 FTE for an Accountant 3 position to fund only in part by the allowed administration cost of the program, with the same position also having other responsibilities within the department being supported by other revenues. These responsibilities will support the general fund in areas of accounts payable approval, financial statement preparation, and budget tracking and reporting. Fiscal impact. The budget request is for grade 25, step 5, equaling $82,810 plus benefits of $45,546, totaling $128,356. The impact for fiscal year 2023 would be $74,874, which is for 7 months. The funding source for fiscal year 2023 would be interest income. In funding the position in future years, only the position's time spent administering the cost recovery program will be covered by the cost recovery program, and this allocation will be set once we have actual data. Conclusion recommendation. Staff requests that the Board of County Commissioners approve the FTE increase for Finance and Budget and approve BA 124.
So for those of you listening, you just heard us previously approve an MOU to start cost recovery. So that cost recovery is going to require accounting and just collection and disbursement of funds to those individual departments. And that's going to require staff time. And our anticipation is that the funds from the cost recovery will cover this position once we know what the full workload is of that position, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Any other questions or discussion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the FTE increase for finance and budget and approve BA 124. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Director Strain.
Thank you.
I believe you have another one?
I do. The next item on the agenda is a request for a systems analyst position within finance and budget. I'll go ahead and read the memo. Background: as part of the implementation of Workday and the Munis Tyler upgrade, frontline support will now fall to finance and budget instead of technology services. This change will require departments to rely more on finance and budget for support for all finance and budget software systems, Workday, Munis, and Tyler, and less on TS technology services. TS will still support these products from a technical side. Discussion: the systems analyst position will ensure finance and budget continually maximizes the value leveraged from cutting new edge software systems. The systems analyst will optimize software to facilitate continual process improvements and guide the departments through data analytics. Physical impact: finance and budget is working with human resources in grading the position. We anticipate the position to be graded at a 25. The budget request is for a grade 25, step 5, equaling salary of $82,810 plus benefits of $45,546, totaling $128,356. The funding source options are as follows. We could use real estate taxes to fund this, interest income to fund this, gain on equipment and disposal, use of prior year fund balance, or salary allocation. Conclusion recommendation. Staff requests that the Board of County Commissioners approve the FT increase for finance and budget and approve BA 114 and direct staff on a funding source. Currently, right now, although we have seen an increase in interest rates, which is good and bad. It's good for the county in some parts because we have received a greater return on our investments. So we are over budget in that area. So my first suggestion would be using the interest income line in order to fund this position. It would be, again, for 7 months. The position, like the position before, we would not need the full $128,000. The request we would need would be going to the $74,874,000 for fiscal year 2023.
Stephen?
We're in support of this.
So could you briefly explain to the people what Workday does?
Workday is what we call an enterprise, an ERP system, and what that does is it goes across the whole of CCG, across Calvert County, and it's the budgetary software. It's the procurement software. It is, and then it's also the human capital management software. So it deals with things like how we recruit people, how we manage them, how we keep staff fully engaged. It's got multiple components. It's a very complex thing to explain briefly.
So it's a software program that basically manages government.
Essentially, yes. Both the finance and the human side.
Correct.
And it'll manage our projects and our grants also.
And we had to replace our previous program because it is no longer supported. So this is not an option for us, it's a requirement.
No, we currently use Fin Plus, and that's being sunsetted. So we have to move to a new system, basically. The system that we have at the moment is outdated, and we're continuing to support it. But fundamentally, there will come a time when it just stops working, and we won't be able to fix it. So it's a completely necessary switch.
And right now, our schedule is that it won't be fully implemented until March of '23, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
So we're working through implementation, figuring out what we're going to need sort of as we go. But in the future, the program should show us where we have needs and maybe it's going to change in how we operate.
It will streamline a lot of how we do things. It'll improve our business processes. The citizens can expect to receive better services as a result, and more engaged staff, and those changes will proliferate across the organisation.
And we believe long-term, it's going to save us money and staff time.
It will definitely, long term, it will save us money and staff times through attrition. As people retire or move on, we'll be able to fill their roles with technology.
Very good. Any other questions, discussion?
We had discussed it earlier, and, sometimes, and me and Commissioner Hans have talked, and you bringing people up to speed of where we're going, there was a system in place, Hanson, when I first got on the board, that was just loathed by folks, and anybody who's ever had to now use the cloud or what have you from something before, stuff that you had always done, all of a sudden your stuff doesn't work anymore, and there's no support for it, and this is just the evolution again of how these systems get outdated by no fault of anything that we're doing. It's just the support people go away. So I think it's the future of the world where, we'll be looking at, not me, but 10, 15 years from now, there'll be a board sitting up here going, yeah, we used to use Workplace, and now we're using, it's, shoot, remember the days, you had to have a key for your car. That's going away. We just see it evolving so fast. So it's, I hate saying you have no choice, but you probably really have no choice, and it's just mitigating. You touched on something, I don't want to get into that discussion, where yes, interest rates are going up, but those CIP costs are going to go right up with it, because they are hand in hand.
Yes.
And so I am not looking forward to those discussions. We've had some really good interest rates in the past, and I don't know they'll be as good.
I understand.
They're just not going to lend money out at that rate.
Right, and we just saw it, when Jim presented earlier, how costs are just going up for not just the
Look at that, Brian,
apparatus,
everything,
but across the board.
Everything.
So we're trying to be very cognizant in how we spend our citizens' money, and making sure that we're fiscally responsible for it, and just doing what we need and not what we want. So.
And this position is more than just a position for the transition into Workday. This is not a temporary position or anything like that. This is a long-term.
No, this is reflective of long-term needs, and like Mike was saying, as Commissioner Hart was saying, the nature of software is changing. We're going to what's called SaaS, which is software as a service. So we are essentially renting out the software, and we can do much less with it. But that's good and bad. It's good in as much as we get a much better system than we would be able to build ourselves. And as a result, we're also unable to hire programmers on the same level as what they can do at Workday or Microsoft or Zendesk, for example, or Infor. But we can access those resources through software which is in a cloud, which is not physically within Calvert County. It's located somewhere else, always within the USA, I should note. And this role will be reflective of that. It'll also be reflective of the growth in data, which we're seeing across the organisation, and the importance of managing data and protecting citizens' privacy and increasing government transparency. This role will enable finance and budget to maintain their data better, to clean their data and map it to where it needs to go. It is a need, it's the long-term need, and it's one that's going to grow. And I expect that you'll see other departments requesting business analysts in the future as what we call the democratization of software occurs, which is where citizens or people who are not from a technical background are able to stand up a system themselves. And having somebody who is predominantly a finance and budget person who is not afraid of computers will be a real asset, and it will enable these improvements in business processes that we're hoping to see. And it'll also best align software to work process because from a technological standpoint, we know computers, we know software very well, but we don't really understand what happens in finance and budget and how to best map what it is that they do to the software that we can maintain. By having somebody physically within the department, it best enables that to take place.
So, gentlemen, there's a request before you. There's a recommendation of where that funding comes from to meet that request.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the FTE increase for finance and budget and approve BA 114 funded by interest income per staff recommendation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we approve the FTE increase for finance and budget and approve BA 114 funded by interest income as recommended by staff. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So item 7 under new business, Department of Parks and Recreation. What?
Do we have new business item number 6?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Got ahead of myself.
I was just gonna let it keep going that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. See, Mike was kicking me under the table.
I wasn't gonna say anything. Hi. Well, hello, everyone.
Everyone was too quick
I know.
to come to, yes.
We just
Trying to
figured we'd
forget about
automatically
me
just
again.
Commissioner Hart wanted to skip over.
So, Cheetah, you know it's cold outside, okay? Okay.
I think it's cold in here.
Yeah.
We like
See?
it cold
Telling
in
Veronica
here.
you could turn the set point up and save some money.
Nobody
Yeah.
falls asleep when
Yeah,
it's
we don't
cold
need
in
any AC today. It's cold outside.
here. Heat costs money. We don't,
Oh, yeah, it
we don't
does.
do
It
that.
does.
Yeah, yeah.
It does.
That's
we
right.
know.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Veronica Atkinson. I am the Capital Projects Analyst with Finance and Budget, and joining me today is...
I'm Shachita Warner, Director of School Construction, Calvert County Public Schools. Hello.
Commissioner Hart's favorite person.
Oh, mercy.
Commissioners, I'll read the memo if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Background. The Code of Maryland Regulations, COMAR, establishes the criteria for the calculation of the formula for the state's participation in eligible costs associated with public school construction. Each fiscal year, a request is made by the Board of Education through the Department of Finance and Budget to review the upcoming fiscal year's capital construction program requests and sign the IAC letter of support. Discussion. F&B, Finance and Budget, received the FY24 Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP, requests from the Board of Education, as well as the request of local support for construction projects. The BOE has identified the projects below for state and local funding. The BOE has listed Priority 1 as a request for state funds for the design planning for the replacement of Northern Middle School.
Priority 2 is a request for Plum Point Middle School HVAC replacements, Phase 2. And Priority 3 is for the Mary Harrison Center partial re-roofing. The project that the BOE listed as Priority 3 consists of state funding through the Healthy School Facility Fund, with allocated local county share of $726,000 as broken out below. Below are the projects that the BOE is requesting the board's approval for state support. Would you like me to read those, each one, or?
Sure.
I was about to say, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Priority 1, Northern Middle School Planning. So this would be the design phase for Northern Middle School's replacement. State portion is $2,722,000. The county portion for this planning would be $202,000. Number 2 is Plum Point Middle HVAC Systemic Phase 2. State, $434,800. At this time, the Board of Education is funded by us, so that is all they are asking for is the state portion.
Commissioner Hart likes that.
Number 3, Mary Harrison Center partial re-roofing. State, $924,000. The local share, which is ours, would be $726,000. The total request for state is $4,080,800. The local county share is $928,000, with a total of $5,800,000. Fiscal impact. The Board of Education's FY24 CIP staff recommended budget is $6,614,440, which is a $1.3 million increase from what was requested in FY23 for the projected FY24 CIP. The local county share request is $2,226,040. The state share is $4,388,400. The BOE CIP budget historically includes both local and state financial support. The FY24 local support is funded by debt and excise tax, and the state support is listed under Grants Other. Conclusion recommendation. Staff recommends that the board sign the IAC letter of support for the BOE's FY24 capital construction program.
Ishita, you want to add anything?
Sure. So I think the first thing that I wanted to add is that in terms of Northern Middle School, I think I had, when I had come before you last year, I had noted that the state is able to provide both design and construction funding towards our CIP projects now. So that is why you see a state share towards design. And also, in terms of construction funding, we are actually now able to take advantage of state funding where we can use those prior to any local allocations towards construction. So we can actually exhaust all of the state portion, which is not something we were able to do in the past, and then still keep the local allocation as we had always intended to use in those particular fiscal years for Northern Middle. So none of that needs to change, but it does allow us to move forward with the project. The second thing I think that's important to note is for priority number 2, which is Plum Point Middle School. As Veronica had stated, we actually were able to get the local allocation for this project in FY22 and FY23. So really, the state allocation is, they were able to give us part of their funding for phase 1 last year with last year's CIP. So this is really just the remainder of the funding. And the project is actually scheduled to take place this coming summer. So at this point, where we are is we have basically 75% of the funding in place. This is really just the last small portion, and the work is scheduled for the summer. And as I'm sure you all know, with HVAC, the dreaded word, equipment is, gosh, it's like the lead time is, anywhere from 40 to 50 weeks. So it really is incumbent on us to be able to move forward, because everything is really in the planning stages now in order to actually do the replacement work for the equipment in the summertime. So I think that's really all I would add. The Healthy School Facility Fund project really didn't need to be as a part of this letter, but because there's local funding attached to it, it just makes sense for us to include that as part of this. That's all I have.
So, Tina, I know we're going to talk about this obviously next year, but as a state, are you starting to see anything there? I mean, right now, technically, they're sitting on a surplus. They've always done percentages with us, but now these percentages are so skewed because the cost of goods is so skyrocketed. Like you said, and it's everything, trying to get everything. The backlog is that, so you're trying to lock in a price now to somebody that they might not can even get started in a year. So are they addressing any of that? Because even like we were just saying with Sharon, CIP requests now, we're going to have to look at a completely different light, because we're not going to go back and get those aggressive rates that we got before. So the rates are going to be higher, the cost of goods are going to be higher, labor rates, everything, the time, which costs money. So are they looking at this any differently?
That's a great question. I think every single county,
Oh,
every
sure, we all
single
got the same
school
problem.
district is going through the same thing. What the state does is, obviously every couple of years they look at the state-local split in terms of how much they're going to participate. One other thing they do for new construction is they look at the last 3 years of construction projects in terms of the cost per square foot. And they update their allocation for the dollars per square foot value so that it's actually in line with what is happening today. Now, that being said, obviously, with the escalations that we've been seeing, they're going to be behind the 8 ball. Until there comes a time, if the market has a correction, then they'll be above where the costs really are. So, it might work out for us in that scenario, but certainly right now, we're just kind of playing catch up. I will say this, one thing that we have done on the local side to be able to address some of these market issues that we're seeing for projects where we've got long lead equipment and we need to make sure that we capture today's prices. If we have the money and we issue the PO, we will go ahead and ask the contractor to very quickly provide any kinds of submittals, and we require review very, very quickly so that that equipment can be released. And if they are storing it in their yard, we will pay for that equipment, because we don't want, the contractor isn't going to want to take the risk of that 20% escalation, because these price increases are happening sometimes quarterly. So we try to combat that by at least buying our equipment very, very quickly. So knowing where there's escalation, recognizing that, and then just, essentially being flexible to be able to react to that. That's one of the ways that we've tried to, make sure that our projects, once we are, kind of married to a budget and we're bidding it, that after the fact, we're not going to have a contractor come back and come to us for a change order. So I hope that helps answer some of your questions.
Yeah, and I know there's, 24 jurisdictions all saying the same exact thing right now.
Right.
So things that were just commonplace, I mean, I have no clue even what the new square footage rate is going around out there. I've heard some obnoxious numbers from just what I heard, just 8 years ago.
Right.
I mean, and at some point, it hits a point of unrealistic, to where, because no one can afford it. I mean, we're talking, this is a countrywide problem.
Exactly. It is,
So
yeah.
it doesn't matter what something costs if you don't have the money.
Right.
You know, and it just gets to that point. So, yeah, I know the state knows it's free, and we have so much changes politically right now, so it's a whole new deck of cards, but I just didn't know, you know, if they were starting to look at percentages.
You know, I think the dollar per square foot, the last time it was about $450 a square foot. So, you know, a couple of years ago, it used to be under 400. So, I mean, that's gone up exponentially.
There was stuff in the
you know.
twos,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's-
Exactly. I mean, we would love to be able to build an elementary school again for 10, 13 million, right?
Right? The good old days, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. How silly is that? Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. That wasn't even that long ago, so.
Commissioner Gadway?
Earlier you touched on, thank you, Mr. President. Earlier you touched on the percentages of the shares between the state and local.
Sure.
I'm not going to question the 100% coverage by the state. That's good. And I understand what you were talking about at Plum Point. The 90+% at Northern, I get that. I'm good. But why, and I didn't quite understand only a 54% coverage from the state on the Mary Harrison Center.
So, so essentially, the way that the state and local shares are allocated, they are currently, as of this year, it is 56% state funding, 44% local, but they do require the local to cover the contingency 100%. So for any change order, so it gets a little skewed because of that.
Gotcha, okay. I didn't realize that 56% number was in there, but that makes sense.
Correct.
Gotta
But
get to Annapolis and
they
get that
don't
number
cover
up.
change orders anymore,
Good
so.
luck.
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, what you have before us today is a request to sign onto the letter. It's just a request to the state. That's why they're priorities. The state will send back what they've approved, agreed to do. So.
Move to
any other
approve.
questions?
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we approve and adopt the letter of support for the Board of Education's FY24 capital construction program. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next year.
Right here.
So the next and the last item under new business, Department of Parks and Recreation fee schedule update. Director?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Sure.
Shannon Nazal, Director of Parks and Recreation. And because this is a new business item, I'll go ahead and I'll read the memo first. So background,
Shannon, I don't want to make the counselor's eye twitch. We've been joined by Superintendent Townsell. Superintendent Townsell, I'd like to give you time. Are you on a time schedule? You have some time to be with us, or you have somewhere else you have to be? You have some time?
You good?
Okay. I want to make sure to give you time. Thank you. Go ahead, Director.
absolutely. So background, the Department of Parks and Recreation collects revenues and fees for many programs and facilities throughout Calvert County. This includes everything from summer camps, swim lessons, camping reservations, daily admissions, food sales, and more. The Department of Parks and Recreation formalized the collection of these fees through the creation of a policy and manual to guide collection, analysis, refunds, waivers, grants, donations, and scholarship programs. The policy and manual were adopted by the Board of County Commissioners on October 29, 2019, and are consistent with Chapter 82 of Calvert County Code, the Parks and Recreation Ordinance. Each year, the Department of Parks and Recreation is required to bring forward an annual fee schedule to the Board of County Commissioners for adoption. Discussion. The Department of Parks and Recreation is recommending changes for calendar year 2023 to account for changes in community needs, cost of goods, program offerings, and the addition of new programs or services. Changes recommended in the 2023 fee schedule are highlighted throughout the document attached. Due to the cost of labor, goods, and services, modest increases in fees are recommended for aquatics, sports programs, and golf primarily. These increases in new fees are in line with surrounding counties, yet still lower to ensure all Calvert County residents are able to enjoy services and facilities provided. Fiscal impact. The Department of Parks and Recreation is charged with collecting revenues and fees for programs, facilities, and services throughout the Calvert County Park System. The impact will vary year to year. However, by having a formalized fee schedule, guides the department in proper collection of those fees and allocation of revenues. It is estimated that by adjusting fees, the impact will save the taxpayers approximately $70,000 annually in general fund contributions to Parks and Recreation. Conclusion recommendation. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the calendar year 2023 fee schedule for implementation on January 1st, 2023, and sign the related resolution. And I have a presentation on some of the changes to make it a little more easier to digest for those that may be watching as well. So I went over in the memo a little bit about the history of the fee schedule to where we adopted the first revenue and fee policy. And then in 2020, we had added fees for field use and updated for community center rooms. And then COVID-19 happened and we had suspended those fees. The only increase that has occurred to the fee schedule since that time has been the out-of-county daily admission rate to Breezy Point Beach. So a little bit about the operation of Parks and Recreation. In fiscal year 2022, our operating budget was just over $11 million, and we had revenues of almost $3.5 million. So this means that our operating budget consisted of 70% of the general fund and 30% in revenues. However, in the past, our revenues had accounted for 40 to 50% of the entire budget. However, we've noticed that the cost of operation, materials, supplies, and labor has increased since that time. So we have noticed our fees have not increased accordingly with the costs of doing business for Parks and Recreation. So many of the amenities that have fees associated in other counties currently do not have a fee in Calvert County, and that includes for fields, community center rooms, and pavilion usage. And just as a reminder, field usage will always remain at no cost to our youth sports providers who have an agreement with the county for offering recreational youth sports to the community. So with this fee schedule change, we've broken it up into a few different areas of our operation. So for parks and natural resources, what we have looked at doing is we've added fees for pavilion rentals, accounted for certain fees that have been missed in previous schedules, and an increase in summer out-of-county daily admission and annual pass rates for Flag Ponds Nature Park. So these increases are to help offset labor and supply costs for cleaning and customer support. And then by adding fees for pavilions, it will actually offer up more opportunities for our residents to be able to utilize those pavilions. A lot of the times, because we have no fees in place, there is no priority or differential between what is offered to a resident and what is offered to a non-resident. And it's first come, first serve, and there is no penalty if you do not show up. It just means nobody is able to use it, and we want to try to make things more available for our residents.
Shannon, is that weather flexible, the no-show? So if it's inclement weather, no control of the person, and say, hey, it's pouring rain, do they still charge a fee?
So right now we don't charge any fees.
Right.
So
But in this
what
proposal.
we would be able to do is potentially we could offer a change of date for the individual. We do have in our revenue and fee manual the times we're able to offer a refund. If it is something that we close the park or we close the amenity, then absolutely we'll issue a refund. If it's sprinkling outside, we wouldn't for any other use, same as Breezy Point. If it might be raining at Breezy Point, but if you come into the park and you're utilizing the facility, we're not going to refund for the the rain shower at the park. So we do have that laid out in our revenue and fee manual
Gotcha.
about when we do and don't offer refunds. But we can always offer a transfer of date with enough notice. For our recreation division and aquatics, we would like to re-implement fees for community center rooms and athletic fields, as well as courts such as tennis court and basketball courts when those are requested for exclusive use. Implement the no-show fees to youth sports providers, which is in their agreement. Increase rates for county-run adult and youth sports, summer camps, and aquatic services. And those are based on the increase of cost in supplies, utilities, transportation, and labor. So when you look at summer camps, the bus cost for field trips and that has gone up significantly. And we, in order to maintain being able to offer those field trips and that sort of thing for some of the summer camps, we would need to increase that cost as well.
Shannon, what about the community centers for the nonprofits? Because I know that was a huge problem the last time we started trying to charge for the community center rooms for, say, the Optimist Club, things of that sort.
So we do have in the fee schedule, the rates are differential between resident and non-resident. And let me find it real quick.
Non-profit.
Understood. So what we have right now proposed, which was what was originally approved back in 2020, but then
Reversed it.
I think it was just held and in 2020 due to COVID, and it just hasn't been re-added back. But it has for a 4-hour block, a $10 rate for a small meeting room. That would, as proposed, would apply to any use for a resident or non-county nonprofit, Calvert County nonprofit, and then the straight fees would be for an out-of-county resident or out-of-county nonprofit or a business of that sort. That's how it's proposed currently.
Couldn't we waive the fees for nonprofits in Calvert County?
That would be a decision of the board. And then recommended changes for concessions and golf operations. So we have updated our sample pricing for accuracy with concession operations, though the percentages have not changed. And we have added fees for the golf course clubhouse use for when that goes into operations for folks that want to rent the facility for weddings, tournaments, parties, that sort of thing. And then we have also looked at an increase in golf rates as well with that new amenity coming on board. So the methods that we used in order to come up with this updated fee schedule, they follow our tier system within our revenue and fee manual that was adopted by the board. We also have benchmark costs and types of rates with other agencies to ensure that we have appropriate pricing strategy, with the goal to return to a 40 to 50% coverage of the entire Parks and Recreation operating budget, which would consider the golf course and Breezy Point Beach to be self-sufficient. Knock on wood. And if you have any other questions about the fee schedule?
Mr. Attorney, if it was the decision of the commissioners to make changes to this prior to approving this, would we make a motion to make those changes, if there were specific changes at this point, and then later make a motion to adopt the entire package?
You could bifurcate the changes. You could do the changes first and then approve it as amended, or you could roll it all into a single motion. Either way is acceptable.
Okay.
I think the concern is there might be changes from different commissioners.
Perhaps voting on them individually makes more sense. You're welcome to do that.
When I was reading this, I noticed that there is a 10% discount for military with proper identification in a lot of the categories. That was identified by the asterisks in the chart.
Yes, sir.
I would like to have the discussion about having active duty military have a 50% discount on the same items that they currently have marked as asterisks, while maintaining a 10% discount for veterans and retirees. And hearing Commissioner McConkey's question earlier, I would also like to have the discussion and putting the in-county nonprofits also into that 50% discount category. That was just something that he just brought up.
So why don't you make a motion and we can discuss the motion?
Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we that we implement a 50% discount to active duty military and to in-county nonprofits while maintaining a 10% discount as currently it is in place to veterans and retirees on the items that are marked available for discount.
Second for discussion. My only question would be, is it worth the paperwork to charge a nonprofit $5 to use the room? Because it would be $10, right?
For a 4-hour period.
Yeah. Would it be worth the paperwork and the hassle to charge them $5? Would be my question for you, for your staff.
So a couple of points for clarification. For items that we have a specific charge for, say, concessions, would it be 50% of our charge, which then we might be losing money on those concession items, or 50% of the upcharge? So say we buy a bottle of soda for $1, we charge the customer $1.50, just for purposes. So would they be paying the 75 cents and we lose a quarter, or would we be discounting the difference of our cost?
So is your motion relative to everything they charge for, or only to rental?
My original intent, prior to winging it with the nonprofit, was 50% across the board. On whatever is currently eligible, 50% discount across the board. That's for
Food,
active,
beverage, everything.
Food, beverage, everything. That is, rentals, et cetera. That is for active military service only, not
Understood.
veterans or.
My question on that is when you start getting food and beverage, do you have 50% in it to
Well,
give?
I think his intent was that it would cover, basically we would break even.
Right. The
It would
intent
cover
was
our
Right,
costs.
right.
The
But
50%
but
should
when
be
you
a break-even
broad stroke
point.
it and say 50%, if they don't have 50%, I mean, I'm all in favor of it. Don't get me wrong, I am. I just don't want Shannon coming back, later going, hey,
We're losing money.
we're losing money on it and have to make another adjustment. So I just want to be thoughtful about, and when you broad stroke a number, that it's going to work. I mean, fees are one thing. That's easy. It's $50 to come in and now it's 25. That's easy. But if a soda cost her $1, say, and she's got $1.25 on it, and you 50% it, and it's now 60. You see what I'm saying?
I get it. Maybe.
Sorry, that's the retailer
right,
in me.
I got you. And I think actually trying to roll both of these into the same motion, I think, was a bad idea.
I mean, I'm all for giving as much
Yeah.
discount as humanly possible. I
Right.
am. Just want to make sure it's
Maybe
going to work.
possibly just do it for the rentals
Right.
of the space and then the food's separate.
Well, but like, for example, we're talking greens fees, we're talking cart
Right.
charges, we're talking maybe items of food would be exempt. So like I'm saying, I think maybe the motion was flawed at the concept of trying to incorporate both
Would you like to make another
entities.
motion?
I would, but this would have to fail first.
You can withdraw your motion as long as the seconder agrees.
Okay, if the second agrees, I'd like to withdraw the motion.
Second.
I'd like to try this in a couple
Okay.
of different manners.
Okay.
While I work on that aspect, Kelly, do you want to go ahead and do the one for nonprofit?
May I assist? May I
Yes.
assist? And while you think of nonprofit, so would it be, because when you say 50%, especially for concessions, I'm thinking of, do we have contracts with specific entities that are non-county, specific to?
There are cases where we don't control the
Correct.
concessions. Food
So-
trucks coming in and.
Well, that has nothing to do with this fee schedule.
Okay, that's completely separate.
That's
Thank you.
completely
And
separate.
that's-
So concession
thank you.
operations are what we do at the golf course, what we have done at Breezy Point, and Cove Point Pool, those types of concession operations where we're the actual seller. There's a separate line item in the fee schedule for the mobile food vendor rate, which is either $25 or $50 a day, depending on the day of use. So that's completely separate.
So for our purposes today, would it simplify things if we tied the 10% veteran discount to active duty?
The 10% discount is already in existence for active and veterans.
Oh, for active and veterans?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He's trying to up it to 50.
I think I'm in a much better place now.
And the only reason, and not trying to be difficult, I'm a big true cost person. We're about to, in the next couple years, offer a lot of items that we've never had before.
Correct.
Some of those will be very expensive, and it's not just the cost of the item. Obviously, it's the cost of the labor, the everything that goes into it to make true cost. So, that's why I'm just very cautious. It's a very aggressive number, You assume you have 5% in it. I
Right.
don't assume that you have 50% in it.
Right, when we calculate the costs of food and beverage, we're also accounting for the cost of the paper products that it takes to serve
Absolutely.
those particular items, so
The knife
it
and
might-
fork, the everything, and it's all
Absolutely.
disposable items a lot of
Yes.
times, so, right.
Shannon, is it safe to say that non-concession items would be considered usage items, like fees for green fees or pool passes or stuff like that? Is that the defining word, concession and non-concession?
Mostly. I would say, and I hate to be complicated, but I want to make sure that everybody
Okay.
has the correct information. Because when we have programs such as our basketball league or our soccer league, when we have, or even summer camps for that matter, when we are paying direct costs for some of those services that we have to provide. So we're paying direct costs for the field trips, we're paying direct costs for transportation, we're paying direct costs for the blue-gray jerseys. We're paying for the soccer balls, and we're paying for all of those things. We do have it at a point right now where the increases are helping us maintain those revenues that go back into operation of the department. And I was trying to see if we could pull a report on how many clicks to the 10% button that we've had in the past year, but I'll be able to get that probably either later on today or tomorrow. But with that, it might not be
that significant in the grand scheme of things on the number of people that are utilizing that 50% from the active duty military side. So it doesn't impact the overall. But sitting here right now, I couldn't give you a good answer on that without pulling that, how many times that 10% button got clicked.
So,
How about-
so gentlemen, we could defer this. There's no time.
January, I have to have a updated schedule by January 1st.
So if we defer to the next meeting, it's what?
December 13th? Probably the 13th would be best. December.
Is that time enough? I just
Yes.
hear discussion that you don't have information for that is relevant to the decision that they're trying to get to.
Understood?
And I don't want them making a decision that later will come back and not be what they were hoping to do. That's my only suggestion. If we have time, we could defer this to the next meeting, and you'd have more time to work with these gentlemen on what they're trying to propose and be better prepared with the information that they need.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
I agree.
That's fair.
I agree.
I would like, the one question I do have, what would you call, and maybe this is, maybe you don't have to answer it right now, but what would you title a usage fee? Greens fees, rental fees, et cetera, pool pass fees and whatnot. That's what I want to kind of try and target.
Right.
Okay.
So, the commissioners that have these, ideas that they want to float, you have time to work with her to flush them out. So I don't want to put her on the spot today.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So could I make a motion to defer the implementation of the fee schedule for Parks and Recreation to be brought forward at a future meeting?
We can set the date today.
And with the date of tentatively December 13th.
That's-
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion that we defer this item until December the 13th. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Counselor, I'm not going to get shot, am I? But
You actually, Mr. President, contemplated this when you adopted Resolution 51-20, Section 6-0, so you're welcome to.
I'm not that smart. So we've been joined by Superintendent Townsend from our public school system, and I'm very happy to see you here, sir. And come on. You can come up and have a seat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Morning.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't have a presentation to share. My goal is just to make a regular appearance as much as possible in the effort of trying to collaborate as much as possible as we move forward for the next 4 years under my tenure as superintendent of Calvert County. Lovely county. I love being a part of the community, and I have a love for young people. Want to see if I can give them the best education possible.
Right. So Superintendent Townsend and I have been meeting several times since he's been here, and we're going to meet pretty regular. So we're going to talk about the recent issue. Superintendent, you want to talk about your program?
Sure, yeah. So we have, so since I've come to Calvert County, I had the privilege of visiting every school in the county, hosting multiple listening sessions and learning sessions for me, and visiting classrooms all over the county. And one thing that's a theme that I'm hearing is that we need support for our young people with regards to behavior, climate and culture, and the learning environment. I've heard it over and over again, even at our school board meetings, it constantly comes up. So I decided to reach out to an organization that does amazing work involving young people and parents, and the hope and goal is motivation to get our young people reacclimated. I think this is the first traditional school year we've had in a number of years with aside of the pandemic. And our young people, not only have there been learning loss, there's been relationship skills loss and climate and culture loss. And my hope and goal is to rebuild that. because the goal is to enhance the student experience, increase academic achievement, and why not become the #1 school district in the state of Maryland?
I'm all about that.
So recently, the superintendent announced a new program called Playbook.
Yes.
And we got a lot of questions about the program,
Yes.
where the money was coming from, what the program did. People only focused on the Super Bowl. We wrote the superintendent a letter based on all the concerns we were getting. And last Friday, Commissioner Weems and I met with the superintendent, talked through the program. I think we came out of that meeting much better
Yes.
than we went in. And I think that, learned about the program priorities, funding sources, and I think last night you had a town hall meeting to talk
Yes.
about the
Yes, I
program.
did.
You want to talk about your meeting?
Yes, last night I hosted a new series of open forums. It was called Let's Talk. And we had maybe 75 people show up, and they were to ask any and every question possible that came to their mind, whether it's about Playbook and that wasn't about anything specific, but whatever was on their hearts to share, with an opportunity to continue to earn trust from the community as well. I think it was very positive. I know a lot of people were in there recording and sharing on social media, and I think it's the right direction to build the bridge of trust as we move forward. I take pride in being an educator. I take pride in working collaboratively with families and communities and all stakeholders in public education. And it was a great meeting. A lot of people, after, it was over, we went over our time. I stayed around and probably met individually 30 to 40 individuals, individuals that were extremely critical, but definitely there was an understanding gained. I received multiple emails this morning from individuals that that had concerns prior who no longer have concerns, which is a blessing, because I don't want there to be any confusion about ethics and morals, because I have a moral compass, and I do things the right way, and I want to keep the brand official. So I think it was a great step in the right direction. I do believe we're going to have probably 3 or 4 more of these starting in January. Try to get it once a month, every 6 weeks. Just to keep it regular, and hopefully that shows that there's an open line of communication with our stakeholders and district leadership.
Well, I watched it, and what I really liked is there was no parameters. You basically said, hey, you got a question, ask it.
Yeah.
And those are tough when you're sitting there or here, because we've done it many times. There is no prepared answer. You can only give them what the answer is. So I like those. I always welcome that. I'm a big, don't tell me what I want to hear, what I need to hear. And even if something's right, I like knowing what they're thinking. Because if it's not right, I want a chance to address it, or if I'm wrong, I want a chance to address that. So you continue to do that, I think is great.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a good best practice, especially being new to a community. I don't have, historical background in Calvert County. I'm a new resident myself. I'm a taxpayer myself. But I want to be a part of the team and a part of the family, because we all have the same thing in common. That's the best for our kids.
For quite a while, up until you coming in, up until this year, I've seen a huge amount of one-way communication going to the school board and the superintendent, and no answers coming back, a very limited amount of answers coming back. I applaud you for taking that two-way communication approach, and I think that is a huge amount of parents and staff, and as you say, stakeholders, look forward to that two-way communication, because people get up there, they put their heart out, and they say they have problems A, B, and C, and when they do it week after week or month after month with no communication back, nothing else, so they feel like it falls on deaf ears. And so by you returning those comments and answering those questions is something that sadly seems to have been a little foreign in the past in this area. So thank you for that. One of the questions I do have, and I didn't see your town hall the other night or
Yes.
your comments, but the vendor that you're using for the motivational speak, have you used this person before or used
Absolutely,
this
I
group
used
before?
them in my previous district.
Right.
And that's common best practices. So for example, when I was working in the District of Columbia
Right.
Public Schools in DC, and when I became a high school principal in Massachusetts, I used the same program called Safe and Civil Schools to support student achievement. when you know that there are things out there that work for kids, you kind of want to implement that same opportunity.
And great segue. Leads me to the next question. What was the results you personally saw when using these others?
What I was
this
excited,
group?
so with Safe and Civil Schools, reduce of incidents, fights, the whole nine, like great climate and culture. Specifically with the playbook, I was very excited to learn that in my previous district, it's probably the highest graduation it's had in the past 2 decades. So that's a blessing. That's on, they did a news story about that in Southwest Michigan after I departed because there is an interim superintendent there. And that speaks volumes. I remember when I got there was a major story about the rate being at 60%. Under my leadership, it was at 93%. I mean, that's major. I mean, that's enough for me to feel good about, okay, great. We have needy young people in Calvert County, have the right recipe.
Dr. Townsend, when I was watching last night, a lot of concerns were folks talking about at the elementary school level. And I think COVID really facilitated that because, you know, like you say, social skills are taught so early on. And I'm not an educator. Are there programs to where mom and dad kind of get an insight of what's happening when they leave the house? Because I think if mom and dad aren't buying in and then the child goes to school, you know, that disconnect. And I don't know if I'm saying that properly, but is there something where mom and dad and the teachers are saying, this is, you know, what we see?
There are. You know, as I move forward, I make sure I do presentations on it because I have something that I know that supports young people and in the primary education age. For example, CHAMPS, which is a PBIS program, CHAMPS, under Safe and Civil Schools. I had the privilege of using that in my previous districts, and it really sets the tone and structure for what's expected of young people in the early grades. And the goal is really in communication. Probably developing a parent toolkit so you can ensure that whatever is occurring at the schoolhouse is being reinforced at home and vice versa. I'm considering, I heard these comments last night, a lot of parents very concerned about the younger people as well. My thought is potentially developing a parent advisory council to keep our hands on the pulse, but also using parents to communicate with parents. I mean, that's what really needs to happen because our parents are sending their prized possessions to us, you know, and in some cases, you know, support may be needed, but how can we extend our bridge of support and give toolkits or reinforcement recommendations for families at the home so we can ensure that the expectations are being reiterated so when a young person come back to school, they understand the expectation of the learning culture. So for example, I've heard it takes 40 times to commit something to a memory. But when we talk about little kids, you probably need to times that by 10, 400 times, you know, every single day, morning and night. I have young kids of my own, a 10-year-old and almost 5 years. She'll be 5 on the 20th.
Just quick.
And I'm saying the same thing over and over and over and over, and that's intentional. So it can sink into that subconscious mind, and the expectation is right there.
Well, I think about mom and dad, you know, like, so both of my kids, well, one's a lot more active in sports than the other one was, but, you know, and I was prepping Carolyn, each sport's different, the type of parents that you see, you know, and always there's that talk to mom and dad before the season gets started. Hey, these are the behaviors that we expect, you know, and these are the standards that we expect because, you know, if the child's seeing mom and dad do all that, then, you know, so I understand it from that aspect, you know, that I don't, you know, and that's to say I didn't know about that program is why I asked where mom and dad go, you know, hey, we're a big part of this too.
Yeah, and that's why with the Playbook program, we had a parent night. Parents came out, we had hundreds of parents that showed up, and we explained what the expectation is, so we're not just talking that at school, it also goes home. And that's, we developed, Mr. Gadaway talked about communication. We do have a Department of Communications now in the district. We have a Chief Communications Officer, Ms. Renee Daniels, who served over a decade in Spotsylvania Public Schools. We recruited her here. And our goal is to develop that pipeline to our parents. We're thinking of podcasts. It might be a parent toolkit podcast where I'm sharing with our families what our school expectations are, because our parents are, in some cases, rising millennials and G generations, and they're on social media. So ensuring that we're creating content that make it to their social media timelines, so they're like, wow, this is Calvert County. They say, did you do, did you do X, Y, Z? So that's the goal. It's different, but I think it's needed, because I do believe post-pandemic, we have to redesign education. And we're in the process of doing that now. It's going to take time. It's definitely going to take a lot of questions and trust. But, this is Calvert. We're going to be Calvert strong and do it together.
Doctor, and again, I'm going to have to go back and watch that, because from what I understand, you had a great meeting the other night with the Let's Talk. How many people were there? You said 60 or 70?
I think we had 60 intend to come, but I think about 75 individuals there. It was a full house. Every seat was
Fantastic.
filled.
How many speakers?
I was the only
Or questioners? Or people
maybe
asking questions?
30 individuals.
Okay.
Everyone.
And I'm not trying to Shanghai you with this. How long did that last?
So it was scheduled for an hour, but it lasted until.
Okay. And where I'm going with this, you had 30 people
Oh, Lord.
be
I know
able to
where he's
get up
going
there
now.
and ask questions and say their piece, which is way over 10. I commend you for that.
Yeah, and again, I'm as the employee of the Board of Education, I'm working on my administrative side and ensuring that there's an open line of communication between district
Right.
administrator and stakeholder.
And I think by listening to that amount of people and engaging with that amount of people on a meeting, I think you will actually get to the point where during the Board of Ed meetings, more than 10 people don't want to speak, because they're getting their answers and they're getting their feedback and they're getting their solutions from you.
And yeah, it was designed that way as a support, because I get tons of emails of people asking to meet with me. And, it's a lot of times parents, it's community members, and everything is good. I only have so much time.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, cool, let me put together a form and an opportunity, and then that's my time for multiple people.
Right.
And it was very good. I mean, someone asked if they can record. I said, whatever. It needs to all be open so the trust is there. I think we can really make magic when trust is there.
Mhm.
And hopefully, our commissioners that are here, I know we got some new teammates coming on board. That's how I move, moving forward. I'm collaborative. We chop it up, we talk about it, we figure it out, see what works, see what doesn't work, come to a consensus, push play. And if it doesn't work, even if it's something I propose, well, we don't want to do that. That's okay too, because I work at the pleasure of the Board of Education. And they work obviously at the pleasure of their constituents. So I understand that, it's not, I'm a strong man, but I'm not going to use my, powers in the wrong ways. I want to do it where young people are graduating to the best post-secondary opportunity possible. That's what my heart is at.
I think it was kind of a learning curve for everybody. If maybe you had had that Let's Talk meeting before approving that and people got to know what the program was about, I think it would have gone a little bit smoother than what it did. And then I served 6 years on the Board of Ed, and what kind of shocked me a little bit is that any bid, anything over 25,000 is normally bid out, and the fact that that large sum of money was was just handed to one company without the opportunity for other vendors or other programs, kind of thing. So that was kind of my question: why was it not bid out? Because
it was a sole source and it's a professional service, and we wasn't required to bid it. But I think what you're saying is valid. What I'm learning through the process is just be, because there's a ton of things that we can do to support young people, but I don't want to do it for you. I don't want to do it to you. I want to do it with you. So my mind goes, so how do I bring people along the process? And this Let's Talk that we just recently had, I did 4 of these. This is my 5th time doing a town hall. And, this just hit how it hit.
Right.
And I'm going to continue going on to it, but at least show I didn't do this because of any controversy. I've always been doing town halls, and I'm going to continue to do them. So.
Well, we really thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
As we learned and had our discussion Friday, sometimes we're going to do things publicly and sometimes we're not.
No worries.
But our goal here is to help you be successful.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, we want our kids to have the best education they can get.
Yes.
and we're here to work together with you to make that happen.
I respect
Absolutely.
that. I appreciate that.
Our door is always open when we're meeting for you to come in and say whatever you'd like to say, and we'll continue to talk.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your
Absolutely.
service.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. So I believe that takes us to public comment.
Yes, sir. The Board of County Commissioners adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. Copy is found here to my right. The Ethics Commission has asked us that we remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy and must register in advance. The floor has been open for public comment. Asking first those in the meeting room to make their way to the microphone. We don't have anybody joining us virtually. Please identify yourself and whether speaking as an individual, where you'll be allocated 2 minutes, or as the designated representative of a group, where you'll be allocated 5.
Good morning. My name's Joseph Cormier in Owings, Maryland. Commissioners, I'm not angry. I'm just a little disappointed, what I tell my 9-year-old. On October 25th, you met Dr. Townsend, and he sat across from you, and the first words out of your mouth were, "What are we going to do about turf fields?" And Mr. Hance, you said, "Whenever you want to, you can schedule a time, we can get you on the agenda, and we can come and talk about it." Dr. Townsend talked about teamwork and partnership. On November 1st, you had another meeting. You didn't seem to have any issues with the school system. On November 9th, you issued that letter. Why didn't the BOCC put it on the agenda and bring them up here and talk about it like we just did delightfully instead of causing all this controversy? I don't understand. When you did the mask letter, I can get it. It was a public health thing. Kids were in danger. I get it. This is a budgeting issue. I don't understand why you went outside the public process to chastise the Board of Education and the county commissioner with misinformation right the day after the election. You spent, Mr. Hance, Mr. Hart, you spent all these forums talking about how you want to hit the reset button. You want to work with the new school board. You want to do positive things, and the day after the election when your seat's secured, you pull the pin on the grenade. I don't understand how y'all are trying to build bridges when all you're doing is setting fires. Is this what we have to expect for the next 4 years? I don't understand. Mr. Townsend had the talking session last night, and I'm glad you watched it online, but nobody was there. If it was such a big problem that you had to write this letter, why didn't you come to the listening session in person? I don't understand. How much did it cost to write that letter? How many people touched it? We say every time somebody touches it, it costs money. I'm sure it went through Mr. Norris's office. I'm sure it went through the county administrator's office. How much money did you spend to write that letter to cause this controversy for no good reason? I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Is there anyone else?
Thank you. That brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Hart?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, as we said earlier in the thing, we just did go through an election. And as just kind of redundant, I do want to thank everyone involved, from central committees that put tents up to people that work to try to get the word out to vote, to staff. You know, staff has to take a beating during election season that people don't know. They say, "Well, you work for them. What are they like?" Yeah, it puts them on the spot, you know. I mean, it's you're just trying to go through the grocery store, and now all of a sudden you're on the spot, you know. So I want to thank everyone. I'm glad it's over. I'm sure everyone's glad it's over. I want to thank Trish Powell, who was my opponent in this one. You know, we ran against each other before. That time and this time was both very respectful. Me and Trish are friends outside of this, you know, and it's the way it's supposed to be. We both just went after the same job, and I want to thank her for a very good campaign, and I wish her nothing but the best as always. I think it's a great example of how politics can be. You know, it's a small town, and I think hopefully everybody wants the same thing, and that's just the best for Calvert. So I wanted to thank her, congratulate everybody who won, and like I said, we do have Thanksgiving coming. It is a good time to sit back and really be thankful for what we have. You look around the world, and boy, you know, if the biggest problem that we have is that a road's not striped right, man, we're heading in the right direction, you know. I mean, it's you look around the world, and boy, there's just, you know, you look at Ukraine and things of that nature, and boy, the struggles that's going around the world. So we're really blessed. We truly are, and I am thankful for that, and I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you.
Commissioner McConkey?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate everybody that won the election, and I know that all of you will continue to move Calvert County in the right direction. And I'm going to look forward to taking a break from politics for a little while and put more time into my family and my business. And it's going to be a change after 10 years of doing it, so we'll see where it takes me next.
Very good. Commissioner Gadway?
Thank you, Mr. President. Last Sunday was a ceremony at the On Watch statue down in Solomon's. If you haven't been down there, take a moment to try and get down there. It's down a beautifully newly paved Dow Road, complete with stripes, as we mentioned earlier. All joking aside, it's that place down there, for those that didn't know, between 1942 and 1945, over 68,000 American service members, Marines, Army, sailors, Coast Guardsmen went through that facility to learn how to do beach landings. Those beach landings were then conducted at Guadalcanal, North Africa, Sicily, the Pacific, Solomon's Island, and of course Normandy. Solomon's Island played an incredibly important role in all of those battles. And that was really important to remember right before Veterans Day, which was on Friday. I'd like to thank Major General Gowan from Maryland State coming down, the Legion Post, the ROTC units, and all those who attended the Calvert County ceremonies. Unlike Leonardtown, who canceled theirs, and Cheltenham, who canceled their veteran ceremonies due to inclement weather, here in Calvert, we managed to figure out, through all the volunteers, how to keep it strong and keep it going. We just moved inside. Saturday, went to the 39th and I believe final Harvest Ball for Calvert Health. It was the theme was Where Hope Grows. And if I understand correctly, they raised approximately $500,000 for cancer research and cancer treatment through their, I believe, nonprofit portion. So congratulations to Calvert Health for the local cancer treatment with Duke Medical. And at the event, they had all the ladies that came up that had been working for the last, to some of these people, the entire 39 years working on this fundraiser. And it was amazing to see those people and the dedication that they have to that. Again, congratulations. I want to echo to all those who won the elections. I want to offer an apology to my wife for forgetting our anniversary yesterday of 24 years. I was reminded that this morning.
He's still alive.
But she forgot it too.
Oh,
So we both remembered it the day late. So we're good. So happy anniversary, Julie.
Commissioner, not to interrupt you, when you said that, I was going to say years and years ago, I was getting in my company vehicle to go to work, and there was a card laying on the seat. And I opened it up, and it said, "Happy anniversary. I forgot too." I said, "This woman is perfect for me." Yeah. So it's so funny. I was just getting ready to go there. Yeah,
Yep.
that's, yeah.
So it's okay if both of us forgot, but we both
Right.
remembered this morning.
Right.
So happy anniversary. And happy Thanksgiving to all. And remember that this time of year is with family and give thanks for everything that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Means?
Commissioner Gadway, I too forgot an anniversary one year. And my wife didn't forget. I told Senator Fowler, this was 10 years ago. So every year, actually 6 months to a year, he reminded me, "Stevie, make sure you don't forget your anniversary this year." Because he had done it too, I believe. So
we've all done it once.
Yeah.
You don't do it twice.
So
Buddy's never missed.
No.
you're a good man.
It's the gold standard.
That's right. I want to congratulate Commissioner Hance and Commissioner Hart for their victory last week, and I want to congratulate all the elected officials, incumbent and otherwise. Ms. Catherine's in the audience. Congratulations to you, madam. Just don't forget that you serve the constituents, all of them, and I think it's commendable to both of you and the results from the election. I think Calvert County will be well served. I had an honor and a privilege to participate in the Veterans Day ceremony in Courtroom 1. That was always an auspicious and delightful event, and I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving. That's all I have.
Thank you. So, we didn't meet last week, so this is going to take a few minutes. On Friday, a week ago, I attended the local county farm bureau banquet, annual banquet. So there was about 175 people there at the fairgrounds, had a wonderful meal, and it was a great event. The next day, attended the NAACP annual luncheon, and that too was well attended, and they had an excellent speaker. The gentleman grew up in North Carolina. He's currently president or senior vice president of Maryland Public Television, but gave an excellent speech that day. And then that night, I attended the Farming for Hunger benefit over at Benedict, which is run by our own Bernie Fowler Jr. And Bernie has quite a story, he'll tell you, he started that program out raising food to feed people, and he's ended up saving lives as part of that project. In the beginning, they were getting inmates from the local Southern Maryland facility to do labor at the farm, and his project transitioned from growing food to feed people to helping save those men and get them on the right path and helping to find them jobs, and created a bright future for some of them that may not have turned out so well. So I want to take this opportunity to commend Bernie and Rose on all the work and efforts that they do to help those men and women move forward. That was the first fundraiser they've ever had, and there was, I think they said, 250 people there. So it was a great event. And on Veterans Day, as they said, we did find a way to still have our ceremony. We moved inside to the courtroom. So once again, I want to take this opportunity to thank the veterans for all their sacrifice so that we all get to live free today. And I too attended the hospital gala. And as Commissioner Gadway said, they raised over $500,000, and it was the last one because they said it's gotten so expensive to hold an event like that anymore, and so much of the money that they raise goes into financing the event that they've found other ways to raise revenue that aren't as cost prohibitive. I think they said it was 450 people there that night, and as Commissioner Gadway said, they were raising money for cancer, and I can't say enough about the partnership that Calvert Health has developed with Duke University and the impact that that's going to have on Calvert County and all of Southern Maryland as far as cancer cures and research go. It's just such a great, wonderful benefit to this community. And also that night, Dean Teague was there, who's leaving in February, and so we're going to miss Dean. He, everybody talks about CEOs that come and go and the things that they do to improve things while they're there. I think I'd have to say Dean took Calvert Health more than the next level. I think he took Calvert Health several levels up in his tenure there. So we are greatly going to miss Dean, but so appreciative that we had him for the time that we did. And two, we had an election. I too want to congratulate all those that were victorious in their election. I think that the new board, we're going to have a great new board coming on. I want to thank all those people, as I said earlier, that worked on Election Day. It's hard sometimes to find election poll workers. I want to thank those people that gave their time to work. And also want to thank those people that ran. It's a lot of people want to sit out and complain about things, but to take that step, to file, to run, to sit in this chair is the next level. The new incoming commissioners are going to find out. You do your best, but you're not going to make everybody happy. There's 93,000 people in Calvert County, and you just try to do your best. But to take the step to give up part of your life to do this is something that not everybody's willing to do. But at the end of the day, I always said you can't complain if you're not willing to make a sacrifice. So I think that's why we're all here today. And as I said, we're not going to meet again before Thanksgiving, so I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. It's a time when you should celebrate with your family and friends and take a moment to think about how blessed you are to live in this great country that we live in. And so please take time to do that. I That's all I have. Commissioner Weems, you have a motion for me today?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn for the day.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we adjourn. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everyone have a great day and a happy Thanksgiving.